Yesterday, we have finished reading the second sutta of the second chapter, the vicissitudes of life, sometimes also titled the 8 worldly conditions or the 8 worldly winds. To summarize, when uninstructed worldlings like us encounter gain and loss, fame and disrepute, praise and blame, pleasure and pain, these 8 worldly conditions, we would be elated and dejected. But if the noble disciples encounter these 8 worldly winds, they would not be affected. That's basically the summary of this sutta. The next sutta we're going to read, the third sutta in this section, anxiety due to change. Monks, I will teach you agitation through clinging and non-agitation through non-clinging. Listen and attend carefully. I shall speak. Yes, Venerable Sir, those monks replied. The Blessed One said this. And how, monks, is there agitation through clinging? Here, monks, the uninstructed worldling, who is not a seer of the noble ones, and is unskilled and undisciplined in the Dharma, who is not a seer of superior persons and is unskilled and undisciplined in the Dharma, regards form as self, or self as possessing form, or form as in self, or self as in form. The form of his changes and alters with the change and alteration of form. His consciousness becomes preoccupied with the change of form. Agitation and a constellation of mental states born of preoccupation with the change of form remain obsessing his mind. Because his mind is obsessed, he is frightened, distressed, and anxious, and through clinging, he becomes agitated. Let's take a look at the first footnote, number 9. Okay, this is a little bit technical, but let's read on. The noun paritasana is derived from the word paritasati, which represents Sanskrit paritrishyati, to crave, to thirst for. It is connected etymologically with tanha, craving. However, in Pali, the verbal stem has become conflated with tasati, which means to fear, to tremble, and thus its noun derivatives such as paritasana and paritasita also acquire meanings derived from tasati. This convergence of meaning, already evident in the Nikayas, is made explicit in the commentaries. I have tried to capture both nuances by rendering the verb paritasati to be agitated and the noun paritasana, agitation. True, SPK, the commentary, understands paritasana here in the sense of craving. The text seems to be emphasizing baya paritasana, agitation as fear. Okay, this is for those who are interested in the more technical definition of the Pali words. If you don't get it for now, it's fine. But I think just take it as this line, to be agitated or agitation. Yeah, basically, the Buddha is trying to explain how someone can get agitated through clinging and how someone can not get agitated through the opposite, through non-clinging. Let me highlight this. So the Buddha started with the first part, agitation through clinging. How the uninstructed worldlings, like most of us, we are not skilled. We are not disciplined in the Dharma. Yeah, we are not a seer of the noble ones. We are not a seer of superior persons. We regard form as self. Or self as possessing form, or form as in self, or self as in form. Let's take a look at footnotes number 10. The uninstructed worldling is one who lacks both doctrinal knowledge of the Dharma, underscored by the word akofida, unskilled, and secondly, practical training in the Dharma, underscored by the word avinita, undisciplined. The worldling is not a seer of the noble ones, that is, of the Buddha and the noble disciples, because he or she lack the eye of wisdom that discerns the truth they have seen. Noble ones, Arya, and superior persons, Sapurisa, are synonyms. Yeah, so this explains more on the beginning of this line. Unskilled, undisciplined, not a seer of both noble ones and not a seer of superior persons. So when we regard form as self, that form of his changes and alters. When, for example, our physical body change and alter, we become preoccupied with the change. And then that's how agitation is born, because we are clinging to this form. Our mind is obsessed, and then we are frightened, distressed, anxious. And this is how, through clinging, we become agitated. Okay, Sister Shome, would you like to read the next paragraph?
He regards feeling as self, perception as self, volitional formations as self, consciousness as self, or self as possessing consciousness, or consciousness as in self, or self as in consciousness. That consciousness of his changes and alters, consciousness of his changes and alters. With the change and alteration of consciousness, his consciousness becomes preoccupied with the change of consciousness. Agitation and a constellation of mental states born of preoccupation with the change of consciousness remain obsessing his mind. Because his mind is obsessed, he is frightened, distressed, and anxious, and through clinging, he becomes agitated. It is in such a way, monks, that there is agitation through clinging.
Thanks, Sister Shirley. The same formula that we have read in the first paragraph is repeated through the list of 5 aggregates. What are the 5 aggregates? Starts with form, and then here feeling, the second one, perception, volitional formations, and the last one, consciousness. And the same formula is repeated for these 5 aggregates. When there are changes in these 5 aggregates, and when we regard these 5 aggregates as self, we will experience anxiety, agitation, because we cling to these 5 aggregates. This is how the Buddha explains that there is agitation through clinging. see. Okay, next paragraph. Sister Billy, would you like to read?
Brother Marcel, before I read on, right, it's note 10 there seems to be something else. After you read the first part, is that right? Note 10.
Sorry?
Note 10.
Not 10.
There seems to be a two paragraph. Oh, yours is finished already. In my book, there are still 2 paragraphs below.
Oh, let me check. Give me a second. Let me get the book and check. Thanks for letting us know. Okay, so there could be a difference in versions. Maybe the book is more detailed than the Kindle version. So
Okay.
thanks for pointing that out. Let me check quickly. Notes number 10. Oh, that's true.
Yeah, there's a quite long paragraph below.
Oh, that's interesting. So the Kindle one seems to be outdated. Okay.
Shall I read on then? Maybe because not everybody is reading from a book, right?
I think let me read the notes quickly.
Okay.
So those of you who don't have the book, just listen attentively, because this is also important. Okay, I'll put notes number 10. I will continue. The text here enumerates the 20 types of identity field, Sakaya Aditi, obtained by positing a self in 4 ways in relation to the 5 aggregates that constitute personal identity, Sakaya. Identity field is one of the 3 fetters to be eradicated at stream entry, the first of the 4 stages of realization. Give me a second, let me double check my Kindle version. Oh, it's actually here, but it's just, okay, I can show it. Okay, I need to go in deep to see this footnotes, but the font here is a little bit small. So let me try to enlarge. Okay, so this is the one that I have just read. Enumerates the 20 types of identity field. How is it 20? We posit the self in 4 ways. Yeah? And if you apply it with these 4 ways to the 5 aggregates, then 4 times 5 becomes 20 types of identity field. And the text further explains, identity field is one of the 3 fetters to be eradicated at stream entry, the first of the 4 stages of realization. What are those 4? Is the one that we have just read. Form as self, form as in self. And let me go back. Self as possessing form, second one. Form as in self, and self as in form. These 4 patterns. Let me highlight this. Further on, the commentary says, he regards form as self, rupang atato samanupasati, by regarding form and the self as indistinguishable, just as the flame of an oil lamp and its color are indistinguishable. He regards self as possessing form, rupawantang atanang, when he takes the formless, the mind or mental factors, as a self that possesses form, in a way that the tree possesses shadow. Okay, this one we can highlight. Form as in self, the third one, atani rupang, when he takes the formless mind as a self, within which form is situated, as the scent, as the scent is in the flower. Okay, this one is not is worth highlighting too. And the last one, self as in form, when he takes the formless mind as a self situated in form, as a jewel is in a casket. Okay, thanks Sister Billy for highlighting this. Let me change back the font. Okay, Sister Billy, would you like to continue reading?
Okay, thanks, Brother Mazhar. And how, monks, is there non-agitation through non-clinging? Here, monks, the instructed noble disciple, who is a seer of the noble ones, and skilled and disciplined in their dharma, who is a seer of superior persons and skilled and disciplined in their dharma, does not regard form as self, or self as possessing form, or form as in self, or self as in form. That form of his changes and alters. Despite the change and alteration of form, his consciousness does not become preoccupied with the change of form. No agitation and constellation of mental states born of preoccupation with the change of form remain obsessing his mind. Because his mind is not obsessed, he is not frightened, distressed, or anxious, and through non-clinging, he does not become agitated.
Okay, thanks, Sister Billy. Now the Buddha contrasts this with how the noble disciple relate with the five aggregates. You know, when there are changes in the five aggregates, in the form, the consciousness, in the volitional formation, and so on, they are not obsessed. Because they are not obsessed, they are not frightened, they are not distressed, not anxious, and through non-clinging, the noble disciples does not become agitated. Okay, the last paragraph, Sister Aikim, would you like to read?
He does not regard feeling as self, perception as self, volitional formations as self, consciousness as self, or self as possessing consciousness, or consciousness as in self, or self as in consciousness. That consciousness of his changes and alters. Despite the changes and alteration of consciousness, his consciousness does not become preoccupied with the change of consciousness. No agitation and constellation of mental states born of preoccupation with the change of consciousness remain obsessing his mind. Because his mind is not obsessed, he is not frightened, distressed, or anxious, and through non-clinging, he does not become agitated. It is in such a way, monks, that there is non-agitation through non-clinging. Sanyutta Nikaya 22.7.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, thanks, Sister Aikim, for reading the last paragraph. I think I missed the footnote number 11 just now. Let's take a look. This noble disciple is presumably, at minimum, a stream enterer. So the one that Sister Aikim read, it applies again the four posits of self to the other four aggregates: feeling, perception, volitional formation, consciousness. So this is the difference between, again, the difference between the wordlings like us and the noble disciples. When changes occur in us, we will experience anxiety because of this identity field. But when the noble disciples experience changes in these 5 aggregates, they will not become obsessed. They will not be frightened, distressed, or anxious because they have non-clinging. That is how there is non-agitation through non-clinging, the Buddha concludes. Any questions or comments? If not, let's do a dedication. 愿消三障九烦恼，愿得智慧真明了，不愿罪障悉消除，世世常行菩萨道。阿弥陀佛。Till we meet again, may we be guided by the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Have a non-agitated Monday ahead. Okay, thanks everyone for participating. I'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.